welcome to my channel. I'm Katie. This is Katie's Bookish Escape, and today I'm going to be giving a few nonfiction book recommendations. My bachelor's degree is in history, so I've had to read a lot of nonfiction history in my life, or memoirs. So that's why I was like, hey, what can I recommend that's not as super common on BookTube? So yeah. First off, this has nothing to do with my studies, but I was given this book by my aunt. It is called The Pocket by Pema Chodron. I'm not 1,000% sure on how to pronounce her name. She lives in Nova Scotia, and she is a Buddhist, I don't know if I would call her a monk, but she's a teacher at a monastery. So she is a Buddhist, and this book is full of little quotations from her, or just like pieces of advice on life. And when I am super stressed out, when I can't handle like what's going on in the day, I look to this book as a place for solace and to remember, like, I can't change or control almost everything in this universe. And that's okay. And that time is fleeting. Life is suffering. I wouldn't say I'm a Buddhist. I'm not a practicing Buddhist, but if someone was like, you have to choose an organized religion, I would choose Buddhism, so yeah. So here's just one of the many quotes I love from her. I figured I'd share it. This is number 77. There are no promises. When we are training in the art of peace, we are not given any promises that because of our noble intentions, everything will be okay. In fact, there are no promises of fruition at all. Instead, we are encouraged to simply look deeply at joy and sorrow, at laughing and crying, at hoping and fearing, at all that lives and dies. We learn that what truly heals is gratitude and tenderness. So the whole book has like little snippets like that, and I just love it. Alright, then I don't know why, but a lot of my favorite nonfiction books are about race in America. So first, it's a classic, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass by Frederick Douglass. I love reading everything like Frederick Douglass has ever written. If you didn't know, he taught himself how to read, and that in itself is incredible to me. If you don't know much about Frederick Douglass, he was an American slave. He later became a free man, and he was an intellectual. He was a scholar, and he also had a kind of friendship with Abraham Lincoln later in life. And I highly recommend anything he's written. This is just one thing I had of his. I also love, one of my favorite of his essays is What to the American Slave is the 4th of July. I highly recommend that one. Then I have another memoir by a slave, which is Harriet Jacobs, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. And this is a memoir by Harriet Jacobs about how she ran away as a slave and basically her life. And oh my god, it is riveting. I can't believe Hollywood hasn't decided to make a movie about it yet. It is insane. You really get the idea of what it was like, and it's freaking terrible. And I think everyone should have to read this and then tell me that there's not systemic racism in the U.S. Then a more modern book on race. It is also a memoir, and this is Life on the Color Line by Gregory Howard Williams. And I had to read this for one of my American history classes, and it is a memoir about this guy right here. He looks white, right? Well, he has black ancestry, and he thought he was white growing up, and then all of a sudden he found out that basically he's part black, and his family basically got like disowned, or him and his brother were like outcasts. And so it was really interesting. This is only in the 1950s, guys. So this is not that old, where even someone who barely had, like, who visually you couldn't even tell was black, was totally discriminated against. And this is stuff that is barely 50 years ago, happening in our country. And I think it's really important for people to realize where we come from and accept that and acknowledge it, that of our horrible past. All right, the last book I have on here, it's a little bit controversial. Well, there's been some controversy about the author. Later, after this book had come out, the author did end up committing suicide. I tend to think that her story, her research is more true than not, personally. But, I mean, just know there are some controversy, just know there is some controversy, and to look into that on your own. But it is The Rape of Nanking by Iris Cheng. And this is about how in World War II, the Japanese occupied the city of Nanking in China, and how the people there were treated. And she argues that 300,000 people were raped, killed, violently murdered, assaulted, which is more than people than died in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It would make it this, after the Holocaust, the most deadly aspect of, or after the Holocaust, the most deadly event of World War II. To this day, Japan does not acknowledge this, that, like, they did this. I mean, it was Japanese military men. It was not technically the Japanese government, but this event and Japan's lack of acknowledgement with it, and the Chinese being upset about that, has really impacted Japan and China's relationship even to this day. So I found this really fascinating in college when I read this. There are very graphic photographs. So I think, honestly, like, based on some of the photographs alone, I'm like, it's a little bit hard to argue that you didn't do anything wrong. Like, there's some, like, I can't show it on here. It's too graphic. So this is not for the faint-hearted. It is sad, depressing, so much so that the author there's claims that she killed herself, committed suicide, because her research was so detrimental to her emotional being. So be warned, but I think it's an extremely important story. I'm a history teacher, so to me, the hard stories are the ones that need to be told the most. Also, a popular book on BookTube, The Poppy War, I believe it's based off of this event, or there's inspiration from this event in this book for the Poppy War. I've not read The Poppy War yet. I plan to, especially now that I know it is inspired by this. But yeah, just know that. All right, that has been a few nonfiction recommendations for me. I hope you enjoy. Great if you like history, especially like race relations. And I really hope you pick some of them up and give them a try. If you have anything to say, please comment down below, and feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell if you want to see more of my videos. Thanks. Bye.